Hi friends, welcome to our machine learning class. So myself Dr. N. Tirupati Rao, working as associate professor in the Department of Computer Science Engineering, Vignan Institute of Information Technology, Visakhapatnam. So today we are going to discuss about the next another one more technique in the machine learning, that is the unsupervised learning. So in our previous lectures we had seen the different types of machine learning techniques. So in the previous lecture we had seen the what is machine learning, so basics of machine learning, applications of machine learning, and in the next lecture we had seen the types of machine learning, that is the first one we had seen supervised learning, and in today's class we are going to see the another important type of machine learning model, that is unsupervised learning. So let us see the lecture contents. So unsupervised learning, so here we will see the basics of machine learning, and again the unsupervised learning and types of unsupervised learning, so working of unsupervised learning, and of course the applications that are real-time applications of unsupervised learning. The objective of this lecture is the student can have a good understanding about the unsupervised learning. Similarly, the lecture outcome of this is, so the student can understand and apply the real-time applications or real-time problems to the unsupervised learning techniques, and he can try to solve the problems by using this unsupervised learning model. So this is the content of this lecture. So let us go to the topic in. Okay, coming to the types of machine learning, I told you already we had three types of machine learning models classified. So the first one is the supervised learning, and the second one is the unsupervised learning, and the third one is the reinforcement learning. And basically the whatever the applications or whatever the models that you want to work with machine learning, all those are mainly classified into these three types. So if you come to this supervised learning, you have the classification and regression models, where this classification can be used to classify a large data set into small set of data, or a large set of data into small set of subclasses based on some conditions. Similarly, this regression can be used, or basically the definition, or if you see this regression, it will give you the relationship between the dependent variable and independent variable, where the minimum condition is one independent variable should be there. And basically this regression can be used to predict the values. Suppose you want to classify the data, you will go for this classification in supervised learning, or if you want to predict the data, you will use this regression model. Similarly, coming to this unsupervised learning model, so here the other two techniques are the dimensionality reduction algorithms and feature selection models are the two important techniques that will cover under this unsupervised learning. So you know dimensionality reduction algorithm. So we are going to reduce the dimension of the model here. That means if you have a data set with 100 variables or 100 columns of variables, now you cannot, it is very difficult for you to reduce the size or work on that algorithm on the data set. So the main thing we will do is, you will try to reduce the dimension of the data set such that you can implement your algorithm effectively on the data, such that to get the more accurate results for your model. And the next one is the feature selection. The identification of various features, or the best feature among the available number of features for a model is the best thing under this feature selection. So these two techniques can be covered under this unsupervised learning. And coming to this reinforcement learning, this is one of the important technique or important model of the supervised machine learning. Here you will use the value based models and policy based models. So value based models means where we will get the maximum number of values, or the where we are going to get the maximum amount of reward for a particular problem, can be used under this reinforcement learning model. And the policy based, we know policy means set of rules you are going to design. So by following this set of rules, you are going to implement the problems, and those problem models can be considered under this policy based. And here the another model is the model based, where you are going to develop certain models by using the queuing models or Markov chain models, such that to solve the problems. So this is the thing about the types of machine learning and what are the various techniques that will cover under this machine learning models. The first one is the supervised learning, where you will get the classification and regression models, and the second one is the unsupervised learning, where you will get the dimensionality reduction algorithms and feature selection. And of course, in this reinforcement learning model, you will see the value based and policy based models on one side and model based methods on the other side. So this is the thing about the various types of machine learning models. One. So that is, so what is the supervised learning? So this is the thing. So as we discussed in a earlier lecture regarding the supervised learning. So I had already told you the supervised learning is always works on a labeled data. So what is a labeled data? So for data you are giving the values or attributes. Suppose I had taken a car. So labeled data will come under that car is the name of that car, manufacturer of that car, seating capacity of that car, color of that car. All these will be various features of that car. So all these things when you are mentioning about that car, you are calling that as a labeled data. Suppose if it is unlabeled data, you won't give any features about that car. You will simply call that as a car. So in supervised learning, you will give input as labeled data to the machine. But whereas in unsupervised learning, you will give just a non-labeled data. That means unlabeled data. That means you are not going to give any attributes or any data about the data. Simply you are giving a raw data that is just available in the internet. You are not going to talk about any details of the data in detail. That is the main difference you have to remember. Remember again, in supervised learning, you are going to give labeled data. But whereas in unsupervised learning, you are giving unlabeled data. Let us see, we can understand that thing in a detailed way. So in supervised learning, in unsupervised learning, you see, it is a machine learning technique in which the users do not need to supervise the model. Yes, this is the one of the important point. We had already seen in supervised learning, the name itself is somebody is there to monitor how the machine is going to work and what is the performance of the machine. All these things can be monitored by a teacher or an user or an observer, whoever you can say. But whereas in unsupervised learning, no observer or no supervision will be there. The machine has to work of its own. The machine has to work on its own on the data. The algorithm what you are going to use in the machine will decide the result and you have to take that result. That is the basic thing here. So no supervision will be there on the machine by any user in the unsupervised model. Second one is, instead it allows the model to work on its own to discover patterns and information that was previously undetected. Here the simple thing is, it allows the model to work on its own. So this is the key point here. In unsupervised learning applications, the machine is going to work on its own. There is no support by any user to the machine in terms of data we are going to give. Only the unlabeled data we are giving and the machine is going to work on its own. That is the key point here. So first point is no supervision. Second point is it works on its own. That is the main difference between the supervised and unsupervised learning. Coming to third one, it mainly deals with the unlabeled data. As I told you already, it mainly works with the unlabeled data. So third point is it mainly works with the unlabeled data. So and the fourth point important thing is it allows users to perform more complex processing tasks compared to supervised learning. So in supervised learning we had already seen we are giving the input data. That means we are already categorizing the data with all the features of the data and we are giving just as input to the machine. So the machine can work very easily and can give you the results. But whereas here you are not going to give any details about the data. So that means it is unlabeled data. So here the machine need to work little bit more to get the more results and best results. So we can assume here as we are going to give more complex problems in unsupervised learning rather than compared to supervised learning. So this is the fourth point you can consider here. That is the more complex problems. More complex problems you are going to solve here. So these are the 4 points we are going to discuss about this supervised unsupervised learning. First one is no supervision will be there by any person in this unsupervised learning. And second thing, it allows or it works on its own. And third point is here we are going to give unlabeled data. And of course, the fourth and important point is we use to solve more complex problems. So here we use unsupervised learning for solving more complex problems. So these are the 4 important points you have to remember. The first one is no supervision will be there by any person. Second one is it works on its own. And third point is we are going to give unlabeled data. And of course, the fourth one is more complex problems will be considered here in unsupervised learning. So this is the basic thing of an unsupervised learning. See, let us see more thing about this. So one may get doubt. So we have supervised learning. So why we need to go for the unsupervised learning? So the reason is here it is. See, the first point is unsupervised machine learning finds all kinds of unknown patterns in data. So in supervised learning, you are only giving the full data but restricted to that particular problem. But here in this unsupervised learning, we can use unknown data also. That means in supervised learning, the user is giving the data. That means the user already known that data. But here in unsupervised learning, you are giving unknown data. So that is the first point is unknown data. So we can think that, so to solve a problem with unknown data, you can simply go for this unsupervised learning. The second thing is unsupervised methods help you to find features which can be useful for categorization. So for classification and categorization of any data, unsupervised learning is the best model to solve such problems. So second one is finding features. So to find features, unsupervised learning is the best model for that. And of course, third one, it is taken place in real time. So all the input data to be analyzed and labeled in the presence of learners. So we can simply consider this as a real time data can be given as input to this model, real time data. And of course, the fourth one is it is easier to get unlabeled data from a computer than labeled data which needs manual intervention. So that means, suppose, why we are going for this unlabeled data, labeled data means, suppose if you want to prepare a data set that is a labeled data, a man has to involve there and he has to assign or align all the data. So names feature one side, size of that object is one side, color of that object is one side. Like that he has to work on that data. So it is a time taking process. But whereas in unsupervised learning, no human intervention will be there. Just you have the raw data, you will collect that raw data and you will give them as input to the machine. So for machine it is very easy to process. But whereas for us, human intervention means we need to assign a person there, he has to work there, we need to pay charges or he will take some time consuming process. So for this, the best thing here is manual intervention will be not there. Manual intervention. So these are the four things why we need to go for this unsupervised learning. The first one is unknown data can be analyzed or found by using this unsupervised learning. That is the one of the need of using this unsupervised learning. Second one is finding features is very easy by using this unknown thing, unsupervised learning. Third one is real time data can be used for these unsupervised learning applications. And fourth one is, so the live data or the manual intervention cannot be there in unsupervised learning. That means if you want to make a data into a labeled data, you have to work on that data. So for that you need to use some manual thing. For that it may be charging, it may be charged for you in the terms of money, and sometimes it may be a time consuming process. So to reduce that, the unsupervised learning is used for removing the manual intervention. So these are the four things why we need to use the unsupervised learning. So remember again, the first one is we can work with unknown data simply by using this unsupervised learning. Second one is features can be found by using this unsupervised learning. Third one is we can work with real time data. And of course, fourth one is manual intervention can be reduced such that the time process and labor cost will be reduced. So this is the best advantages we have by using this unsupervised learning. So for these 4 points, 4 reasons, we can choose an unsupervised learning rather than a supervised learning model. So this is the main one of the differences between a supervised learning and unsupervised learning models. Okay, now see how an unsupervised learning model works. That is the important thing. See, first, unlike supervised learning, no teacher is provided. That means no training will be given to the machine. So in supervised learning, we are having a training. That means, first of all, we are collecting a data set. After that, we are choosing the algorithm. Then the collected data set, we are giving it to machine as an input. So now the machine is having a training phase on the data by using your chosen algorithm. So after training, you are giving a test data to that machine. Based on the test data results, you are going to analyze the actual accuracy of that model. That means how accurately it is going to predict the values, or how accurately you are getting the required output from that machine. This is can be done in supervised learning. But whereas here In unsupervised learning, the simple thing I had already told you. Here the no supervision will be there. That means nobody is going to train the data here. That means there will be no training in unsupervised learning. That is the first point you have to remember. No training will be there in unsupervised learning. But whereas in supervised learning, training should be there. So that is the one of the major difference. First major difference between supervised and unsupervised learning is, first one is, in supervised learning we are going to use labeled data, whereas in unsupervised, unlabeled data. The second main difference is, in supervised learning, training will be there for the model, but whereas in unsupervised learning, there will be no training for the model. Coming to the next one, therefore machine is restricted to find the hidden structure in unlabeled, uncategorized data by itself without prior training. Simply we know, when there is no training, the machine has to work on its uncategorized, unlabeled data. As we told that from first one I am telling, here we are going to use unlabeled data. That means there will be no labeling, there will be no categorization of data. Simply the raw data which is available, you are going to work on that data and you are going to get the results. So second point is, it is going to work on unlabeled data and uncategorized data. Unlabeled and uncategorized data. That is the second advantage of this unsupervised learning. And third one, here the machine groups unsorted, unordered information regarding similarities and differences. So it is going to keep the data in a unordered, unsorted data into a similarities and differences. It is going to form the data. That is the third one. And of course, the output is dependent upon the coded algorithms. This is the important point you have to remember in this unsupervised learning. Here, whatever the algorithms you are going to write, the success of the machine is always depends on this algorithm what you are going to write in unsupervised learning. Why? Because I had already told you, here there will be no training, no labeled data. So the data is raw data, that is unlabeled data, and of course the algorithm is also your own algorithm. So simply here no training will be there, no labeled data will be there. So simply the success working of your model will always work on the whatever the algorithm we are going to code, it will keenly depends on that coding algorithm only. And of course this last one is, subjecting a system to unsupervised learning is an established way of testing the capabilities of that system. That means simply you have developed a system and you want to test it. Simply you no need to do anything, simply you take an unsupervised learning technique on that system and you implement on that. So simply by getting the result of that unsupervised learning, you can simply understand whether the system is working good or bad. You can simply understand. So from this, how unsupervised learning is going to work, we can see the simple three things. First one, there will be no training in the unsupervised learning. Second one, you are going to work with unlabeled and uncategorized data. Second thing, and of course third one, always the working of your unsupervised learning model will work on the algorithms of its own. That means how strongly you are going to write your algorithm, that will decide the actual working capacity of your model. It doesn't mean the data, because already the data is a raw data. So you cannot say anything. You are just collecting the raw data from the source and you are implementing your algorithm and you are trying to get the results. And of course the last point is, you can justify the working capacity of a machine simply by working on a unsupervised learning application on your machine, and you can justify whether how your system is going to work on this. So these are the 4 points we can remember while working with this unsupervised learning. So coming to this, where this unsupervised learning is used actually. The first one is, you can see here, see, the first one is clustering. So what is meant by clustering? Splitting the data set into groups based on similarity. So you have a big large data set. That means you are having a 100 variables of data. That means you have 100 rows or 100 columns in the data set. Now you have to split that groups based on the similarity. So first you will identify number of similar variables. Based on that similarity of those variables, you are going to split the data set into different parts. That is nothing but the clustering. So splitting the data set into groups based on similarity. So this thing you have to remember. Based on the similarity, you are going to split the large data set into small data sets. That is the key point here. Coming to the anomaly detection, we know identifying the errors in the data. And association mining. So identifying sets of items in a data set that frequently occurs together. So this is the thing, identifying sets of items in a data set that frequently occur together. Suppose some data sets, if you take, there are some variables which will be always occurring again and again and a frequent way. So identifying such set of items in a data set is nothing but association mining. And of course the fourth one is dimensionality reduction. I had already told you. So you are going to reducing the number of variables in a data set. So I had told you at first slide. So reducing the dimension, that means you are trying to reduce the number of variables in a data set. So as a summary of this unsupervised learning used for, you can see the four main techniques. That is, first one, clustering, splitting the data set into various subgroups which have the similarity between them. Second one is anomaly detection, identifying the errors in the data set. And association mining, identifying the set of items in a data set which occur frequently. So that means happening of those things or repeating of those things very frequently happening in the data set. That is association mining. And of course dimensional detection, reducing the number of variables in a data set we are going to see. So these are the four techniques that you are going to use under this unsupervised learning. So the first one is a clustering, second one is anomaly detection, third one is the association mining, and fourth one is of course dimensionality reduction. So these are the four things we are going to use here. So let us see an real-time example how an unsupervised learning will work. See, this is the example I have taken. So let's take the case of a baby and her family dog. So this example is about a baby and her family dog. So what is happening here? She knows and identifies this dog because this dog always stays in the home with her, so she can easily identify. So take this as baby in a home, and this is the dog staying in the same home. So now the thing is, she will always identify the dog because from morning to evening daily she is observing the dog in her house. So she can identify easily that dog. Few weeks later, a family friend brings along a dog and tries to play with the baby. So what happened suddenly? Some other fellow or some neighbor fellow brought another his dog to the family and he is trying to play with the baby. That is the now. Now the question is whether this baby will identify that new dog as a dog or not. That is the question. See, baby has not seen this dog earlier. See, that is true because so far this dog is not there. So far she is seeing that only one dog in her home. Now a new dog came, but as per the knowledge of that baby, she don't know what is that. But the problem is now she need to identify that. How she is going to identify that? See, this is the thing. See, this is the thing. But it recognizes many features. But here the main thing is the baby recognizes many features. What those features are? So 2 ears, 2 eyes, and walking on 4 legs are like her pet dog. Similar thing is the dog has 4 legs, 2. So she is identifying the similarities of the dog which she had already seen in her home. The common similarities are 2 eyes it has, 2 ears it has, and 4 legs it has, and it is walking here and there. So that is the simple example she had seen, and she might understand that it is also a dog, like similar to a dog in her home. She identifies the new animal as a dog. So here nobody is feeding any data to the baby. This is another dog, you see, like that. No parent or no mother or father is telling to her. She herself has to identify this as a dog. What is the key for her? She is identifying simply what data she had with her in her home dog. She is identifying as 2 eyes, 2 ears, and 4 legs, and it is moving with that legs. She compares that with previous dog, and she will identify the dog as a similar dog which was staying in her home. She identifies the new animal as a dog. This is unsupervised learning, where you are not taught but you learn from the data. In this case about a dog. That means here the machine or nobody is telling to her. To baby, neither her father nor her mother, nobody or his neighbor, her neighbor also not telling her, this is a dog, you can play with this dog baby, like that. Only the baby has to identify herself. So simple thing how she can identify is based on the 2 eyes she had, 2 ears she had, and 4 legs she had. She is identifying, okay, this is also a similar log like in my home. Like that she will identify. In a similar way, for any unsupervised learning application, no, I am telling you. So here no labeled data will be given. That means unlabeled data. That is scratch data. So whatever the thing you have with your own interest, with own knowledge, you have to use that knowledge here to solve the problem which you have given. So for that you have to develop your own algorithms to solve the problem. That is the question of here in unsupervised learning. So as supervised learning we had seen classification and regression. Similarly in unsupervised learning we have two types of categories of problems here designed. So the first one is clustering and the second one is association. Let us see what is a clustering. The first one, clustering. So it mainly deals with finding a structure or pattern in a collection of uncategorized data. So what is a clustering means? It mainly deals with finding a structure or pattern in a collection of uncategorized data. We already know here the data is uncategorized data, whereas in supervised learning it is a categorized data. So the clustering mainly deals with finding a structure or a pattern in a data. So first one is structure or pattern in a unlabeled data structure. Unlabeled data. That is the first thing. So the mainly clustering works with finding a structure or pattern in a unclassified data or uncategorized data. Second one, clustering algorithms will process your data and find natural clusters if they exist in the data. Natural clusters. So naturally when you see a data in a data set, so obviously you can observe some relation between the variables which are there in a data set. So by using these unclustering algorithms, you can simply understand the relation between those variables and it tries to identify them in the data. And also you can also modify how many clusters your algorithms should identify here. So when you are working with these clustering models, you can restrict your number of clusters. Suppose I may say I need only 4 clusters from this data set. So I can modify that number. So some people may say I need 5 clusters from this data. So that number can be reduced or increased. It may have the control by the developer. So a simple thing is you can also modify how many clusters your algorithm should identify. Why? Because you are going to develop your own algorithm. So you can simply expect or you can more simply modify how many clusters you need in your algorithm. So what is a clustering? It is the process of finding a structure or pattern in a uncategorized data or unlabeled data. That is the first one. Second one, these algorithms will process your data and find natural clusters within exist in the data, if they exist actually. And of course, you can modify the number of clusters you can have in your data while you are working. So this is about types of unsupervised learning. First one, that is clustering. Coming to the second one, that is association. So before going to that association, you see a simple example of this clustering example. You see here, this is the best example. See, this is a sample where you can see all types of potatoes. So you have white color potatoes, pink color potatoes, and of course black color items. So 3 types of there in a cluster. So this is the actual sample example we have. So unlabeled data means we are making this unlabeled data. That means it is a combination of full of all types of items in a single data set. So all these different types of potatoes are kept in a single place with all combinations. Now by using these clustering models, you can simply see the output. You are going to separate them based on their colors or features. See, all black items came into one position, all white came, and all yellow color came into some group. So we are clustering them into different groups. So all these items are in one group, all the red items are in another group. This is cluster 1, this is cluster 2, and of course all these potatoes can be taken as another cluster, that is cluster 3. So simply if you take this one is an entire single data set or single cluster. So you are going, it is a mixture of all the types of potatoes. Now you are from this entire data set of group, you are going to cluster them into different groups or separate them into groups. So here we are making this entire data into 3 groups, that is first one, second one, and third one. three different things we are making. See some of the examples for this clustering. So in biology, for genetic and species grouping. So when you are separating the, in genetic subject, you can use for separating the species or genetics. So you have different types of genetic models. So for separating them or clustering them into different groups, you can use the biology where unsupervised learning can be used. So of course, in medical imaging, you can use for distinguishing between different kinds of tissues. Suppose if you want to identify a person tissue whether he has a cancer or not. So in a normal person, if you want to observe, if a normal person without cancer, no cancer tissues will be observed. But if a person with cancer is there, you can simply identify whether the tissues belongs to, which tissue belongs to cancer and which tissue belongs to normal tissue. You have to classify them, and you have to cluster them, normal tissues into one group and cancer affected tissues into another group. For that you can use this clustering mechanism. So that is in medical imaging, that will be very useful application, clustering the different disease related items and identifying whether those items will belong to that particular disease or not. There it will be better useful for the people. Market research, that is the third one. So first one for this, for differentiating groups of customers based on some attributes. So customers can be classified. So below 10 years, what are the kids groups and what they like, chocolates like that. So 10 to 20, another cluster, 20 to 30 or 30 to 40, like that you can make based on their age, and based on their age which sort of items they are going to purchase you can expect or you can guess. Based on that you can assign your things in the market or things in your websites you can post. So those things also can be used under this clustering application. So market research, analyzing the users or the customers trends. And of course recommender systems. So nowadays you are using Amazon and Netflix, all these are the some of the things. So giving you better Amazon purchase suggestions or Netflix movie matches. So suppose better Amazon purchases. So you can see whenever you are browsing in a Amazon website, you are searching for some items, due to some reasons you are not purchasing. But whenever you are entering into next time into Amazon website, so it is due to this Amazon recommender systems, it is going to recommend you that items again based on the alerts on the device, on that items, whether the price of that item had reduced or the more number of items are available today, and various items with various brands are available. Suppose you are searching for an AC. So one day what you searched for the item AC model may not be there. Suppose you are searching for a Daikin model. Maybe on that day when you searched on that day, Daikin was not there in your stock list. So today suddenly the Daikin has entered into the stock list. So it may be send you the recommender system and it may give you the alert also. So from today onwards Daikin is there. If you want you can purchase like that. So that is the Amazon recommender system. Similarly for movie matches, Netflix is there. I know you think most of you people know how it is going to be. Based on our previous watching movies, it is going to suggest you the different new movies that was updating into the Netflix database. So you see, so coming to this first one is the unsupervised learning, that is the clustering. So these are the different types of applications that were related to the clustering only. Remember, not for unsupervised learning fully I am telling. These are some of the examples of clustering models. See, first one is, what is clustering, you know, understand. So this is a raw data where you have all types of potatoes kept here. Now by using the clustering, you are going to make it into different clusters. So what I am doing here, white color potatoes into one cluster, normal color potatoes like dry color into one color, and green potatoes or something into third cluster. So a combined raw data of potatoes or a data set we are making into different clusters based on this. So this may not end. If you want to make it with the size also, you can make the another clusters. That means based on the size of the item in the picture also, you can make another clusters also. That is, here the feature which you are considering is color of the item in that picture. So based on 3 colors you are available, you are making that into 3 colors. Suppose if you want to make more clusters, so you can go for the size of the item in that there. So based on the size, you can make n number of clusters. So it mainly depends on the what feature you are going to consider. Based on that feature, it is going to make n number of clusters. And of course, examples for genetic expressions in biology, this clustering model can be used. And for medical imaging, identifying the various tissues in a human being can be used. Market research, and of course, recommender systems. These are some of the examples for the clustering example. Coming to this next application, that is association. So the second type of applications categories in unsupervised learning is the association. Second one is the association. So basically, what is an association? You see, association rules allows you to establish associations among the data objects inside large data sets. So that means you are going to establish among data in a large data set. That means you are going to establish the relationship or association between the various small data sets into a big large data set. That is the main work of this association. And this unsupervised technique is about discovering interesting relationships between variables in a large data set. That is the main work of this association. That means you are going to identify the interesting or new relationship between the various items or data variables available in the data set. That is the main advantage or main application usability of this association, identifying the new and interesting relationships between various variables in the databases. And of course, third one, for example, people that buy a new home most likely to buy a new furniture. So this is the best example you can say. That means the simple thing is, people, whoever is purchasing a new home, you can understand very easily this example. So whoever is purchasing a new home, simply you can guess they will purchase a furniture. That is a simple relation you have. That is one of the best thing you have. So again I am telling, basically this association is, it is going to develop the interesting relationship between the variables in a data set. That is the first thing in association. Second thing is, it is going to predict the things. So that is the example thing. Examples of some of the examples of this unsupervised learning association model is, see, a subgroup of cancer patients grouped by their gene expression measurements. Suppose you see, if you take the cancer patients, so you can observe different types of cancer patients who are suffering with lung cancer, who are suffering with throat cancer. Like that, so many types of cancers are there. So each type of cancer can be identified by their unique features. So all these features can be grouped and they can be measured with their expression. And second one is a group of shoppers based on their browsing and purchasing histories. So whatever the items you are browsing and whatever the items you are purchasing, based on that you are going to make some groups. That is the second example of this association. And of course, third one, movie group by rating given by movies reviewers. So based on the reviews given by the movie rating public, you are going to classify, you are going to keep them in different groups. So simple thing, you are going to identify, simple thing, if you note this down, these are the three examples. So first of example is, you are going to group the cancer patients where different types of cancer patients are available. And the second thing is, based on the browsing capacity of the users, you are going to group them. Previous items what they had searched, previous items what they had used in the online websites. And third one is, based on the ratings given by the reviewers, movies also being grouped. That means the best reviewer movies for this, and the second reviewers given by this, the best movie with 5 reviews. So that means suppose you take for 10 points for a review, so the movies which got 10 points, the movies which got 7, the movies which got 5, like this you are going to group them with based on the review items. That is the third example. So these are the some of the algorithms and techniques you are going to use in unsupervised learning. The first one is hierarchical clustering model. Second one is k-means clustering. Next one is k-nearest neighbor and principal component analysis and singular value decay, and of course independent component analysis. So all are different types of algorithms can be used under this unsupervised learning models. And in the coming classes, when we are discussing about this unsupervised learning model in the unit 3, we can see exactly all these models and their descriptions with live examples also. Okay, coming to this applications of unsupervised learning. So here we can see some of the real-time applications of this unsupervised learning. The first one is hidden Markov model real-time applications or real-life applications. So all these applications will use these Markov models. The first one is optical character recognition. In other words, we can call it as handwriting recognition. So the best example is a signature verification. That means you are using, suppose you are going for a bank. Now you had sign on your form. Now the bank people want to make it, whether the signature which is there with the bank database, they have to verify whether the signature given by the person is correct or not. So suppose if it is in a bank, the person is there, he can identify. But whereas when an automated machine you are trying to verify, so the machine has to identify it. So for that, handwriting or signature identification was one of the best example identification one hidden Markov model. The second one is speech recognition. Of course, for your smartphones or for your laptops, you are keeping this speech recognition as your passwords. So whatever the speech you have spoken when you are storing in your mobile, you have to speak the similar way whenever you try to unlock your smartphone. Then only it will, whenever your voice matches with the database voice, then only it will open your smartphone. Otherwise, you cannot open your smartphone. That will be processed by using this speech recognition models. That is one of the example of this hidden Markov model. Of course, text classification. So classification of text. I had given you already the best example is newspaper data. So in a newspaper, you have different types of data. You are going to classify that. The best thing is in a newspaper, you have sports news, political news, entertainment news, employment news, and of course competitive exams news. All these types of different types. So you need to classify that data. So or you need to cluster that data here in terms of unsupervised learning. That is one of the best example in unsupervised learning. And of course text translation. You know this example. So whenever you are opening a website, suppose you are opening a Chinese website, you don't know Chinese. So you will have an option that is a translating option. By clicking that option, the Chinese website, whatever the data is containing, it will be converted into your English. So those techniques can also be covered under this hidden Markov model in unsupervised learning. That is one of the best examples. So see here some of these real-time applications which will come under this hidden Markov model. The first one is optical character recognition, that is identifying the signatures of a person. Second one is speech recognition, that means identifying your voice, whether this voice belongs to that say particular person or not. And of course text classification, classifying the text into several different groups. And of course text translation, translating the text from one language to other language. So these are the examples of this hidden Markov models. Let us see another real-time example, that is a PCA model, principal component analysis model. Here it shows the dynamics of the website traffic flows. Website traffic flows, how the various type of people are browsing your website, which sort of thing, how much time they are watching your website, and what sort of content they are watching. All this data can be observed and identified by this model. That is the first example. And of course second one is genome visualization in genomics application. So gene expression analysis can be identified or observed by using this model. And of course third one is break down the segments of the target audience on specific criteria. Suppose you are having a movie, and based on that movie, audience of that movie, you are going to classify them based on the age. Suppose below 20 years, how many people are watching that movie? 20 to 40, how people are watching? 40 to 60, how people are watching? And what criteria the people are liking that movie are watching? So that can be understood for the preparation of movies or making of new movies to target particular audience. That is the best thing for this application. So these are some of the applications of this PCA model. The first one is dynamics of your website traffic flow can be observed, and genome visualization, that means genetic sequence of the model can be observed. And of course third one, identifying the customers or the persons based on a specific criteria. So you are keeping here maybe based on their taste, based on their gender, based on the age of that people, you are going to classify them. That is the third best application of this PCA model, principal component analysis model. So coming to the next type of applications, we will go to next one, that is supervised learning and unsupervised learning. So this thing is more important. So we have seen all this supervised learning and unsupervised learning. Now let us see, for better understanding, you can observe this, what is supervised learning and what is unsupervised learning. See, in terms of parameter, first one is the process. In terms of process, what is the main difference between supervised and unsupervised learning? Here both input and output variables will be given. So coming to supervised learning, both input and output data will be given to the machine for problem solving. But whereas here in unsupervised learning, only input data will be given. So no output data we cannot expect. That means in supervised learning, you know what is the input and what is the output. But whereas in unsupervised learning, you know only the input because you are giving the raw data to the machine as input. But you don't know the output because based on the algorithm, the machine has to process and it has to give the answer. So the simple first difference is in supervised learning, you know the input and output. But whereas in unsupervised learning, you don't know the output. You know only the input value. Coming to the second one, that is input data. What sort of data will be given as input in supervised learning? In supervised learning, algorithms are trained using labeled data. We know this difference. So in supervised learning, algorithms are given with labeled data. Whereas algorithms are used against data which is not labeled. This is the main important, not labeled. So this is the main difference. So in supervised learning, the data what you are going to give is labeled data. But whereas in unsupervised learning, the data you are giving is unlabeled data. That is the second difference. Coming to the third one, various algorithms used in the two models. In algorithms used in supervised learning, SVM, support vector machine, neural network models, linear and logistic regressions, random forest and classification trees. Classification trees are nothing but decision trees, you know. So these are the some of the algorithms you can use in supervised learning. Coming to this unsupervised learning, what are the algorithms? Unsupervised algorithms can be divided into different categories like cluster algorithms, k-means algorithms and hierarchical clustering. So k-means algorithm, hierarchical clustering algorithms can be used in unsupervised learning, whereas in supervised learning, SVM, neural network, linear regression, logistic regression, and of course decision trees. All these are the different types of algorithms you can observe in supervised learning. So coming to this first you see the first three differences. First one is in supervised learning, you know the input and output of the machine, whereas in unsupervised learning, you know only the input and you don't know the output. Coming to the second difference, here the algorithms are given in labeled data in supervised learning, whereas in unsupervised learning, the algorithms are given with unlabeled data. Whereas coming to algorithms used in supervised using, you are using support vector machines, neural networks, logistic and linear regressions, and of course decision trees. Whereas in unsupervised reasoning, you are using k-means clustering algorithms, hierarchical clustering, and some other clustering algorithms you are going to use. These are the main differences between supervised learning and unsupervised learning. Let us see some of the other three differences also. See first one, here another one, this is the fourth one, accuracy of results. See, highly accurate and trustworthy method. Because simply we can say, as we know the input and output, it is a highly accurate and trustworthy method. Whereas unsupervised learning, less accurate and trustworthy method. Why? Because in unsupervised learning, it is less accurate. Why? Because we are giving only the input and the input is also unlabeled data. So the accuracy can be less. Whereas in supervised learning, we are giving the labeled data as input. So accuracy will be very high. Similarly, coming to this fifth one, number of classes. In supervised learning, number of classes is known because again the relation is known. Simple. Here we know the data thing, that is labeled data. So we know how many classes are there in the data. So the data number of classes is known. But whereas in unsupervised learning, number of classes is we don't know. Why? Because it is unlabeled data. There is no structure, no rule, nothing. So in unsupervised learning, number of classes we don't know. That is the main difference. And of course the last difference between supervised and unsupervised is main drawback. So a main drawback of supervised learning is classifying big data can be a real challenge in supervised learning. So that is the big challenge in supervised learning. Whereas in unsupervised learning, you cannot get precise information regarding data sorting. Here the data is not labeled and not known. That is the one of the main difference between the supervised and unsupervised learning. So this is see another difference is accuracy. Here the data is accurate and trustworthy method in supervised learning, whereas in unsupervised learning it is less accurate and untrustworthy methods. And number of classes, as in supervised learning we know it is a labeled data, so we know the number of classes, whereas in unsupervised learning we don't know the number of classes because it is unlabeled data. And coming to the main drawback, here the data, big data can be, classifying a data can be a big problem, whereas you cannot get the precise data because we are using the unlabeled data. That is the main difference between this. See, again I am telling you the main differences. First one, process. Here both input and output will be known to the user, whereas in unsupervised learning only input knows, no output will be known. The second difference is here the algorithms are trained and we are using labeled data, whereas in unsupervised learning the algorithms are using unlabeled data and we don't know the input data. And of course the algorithms use SVM, you are using support vector machine, neural networks, linear regression, logistic regression, and of course decision trees we are using in supervised learning, whereas in unsupervised learning we are using k-means clustering and other clustering algorithms. And here we are using accuracy, number of classes and main drawbacks. So these are the textbooks suggested for this subject. You please go through these subjects whenever you have some free time. And coming to these are some of the references I had used for preparing this content.